What's up guys, I'm Blood204 here with another video, and on this video I'm joined with my, again, you know him, Merciless Boo.
Yep. What's up guys, Young God Boo here.
So yeah, this video we're making to review the DLC to see if it was good or not, show our thoughts on it.
Right.
This is more for casual players, if anything.
Yeah.
Not really a hardcore
It's not
player.
like the diehard Dark Souls fans.
I mean,
casual.
Yeah, it's because we're casual players, so it's just like our thoughts on it on the casual side. I mean, like
Right.
some diehards for the game, you can still listen to it.
Right, yeah. Alright, well, I would say the story of the DLC, I think it was pretty nice. I think the theme was pretty nice with a snowy, calm place.
Yeah. Why don't you give these people a heads up on how the story is, how it goes?
Well, to activate the DLC, we meet a guy called Gale at the Cathedral of the Deep. He shows us a piece of painting that sucks us into the painted world of Ariandel. The prophecy says that there's a need for a second ash to burn down the world.
Ashen One, I have a kindness to ask of you. My lady lives in the cold land of Ariandel. I need you to show her flame. A proper flame that will burn the rot away.
This world is for those who have no purpose left.
That's what all the beings you see in this world are.
After we reach the first bonfire, we see that there is a chapel across the wooden bridge. That's where we meet Sir Wilhelm, a sworn loyal servant of Lady Frida. After you speak to Frida, both her and Wilhelm advise you to go no longer on your journey and return where you came from.
Ashen One, I know not the missteps which led thee to this painted world, but thy duty is all, and thy duty lieth elsewhere. Return from whence thou camest.
I had enough. You can do the rest.
Alright then. The reason Sister Frida wants us to leave this world is because she's afraid of the prophecy of the two ashes that are needed to burn this world, for the flame to consume this world, and she doesn't want that. As you can see throughout the DLC and throughout this world, you can tell that this world is rotten because the flame is supposed to burn this world, but it hasn't yet. The reason this world hasn't been consumed by the flame is because Sister Frida and Father Ariandel decided to embrace the rot and not let the flame consume the painted world. Even though most of the inhabitants in this place agreed to let their flame consume the world.
O wondrous ash, grant us our wish. Make the tales true and burn this world away. My lady must see flame, and you have only to show her. You are ash, are you not? Is it not fire that you seek? Surely you have seen the rot that afflicts our world, but that which fooled the good father and buried the flame, after we had all made up our minds too. So, please, grant us one wish. Make the tales true, and burn this world away. My lady must see flame, and you have only to show her.
But the Crow Knights sided with Sister Frida and betrayed their companions. So moving forward in the DLC, we eventually encounter Sir Wilhelm in the library, and we defeat him.
The Mad Librarian, as I like to call it.
We then get the key from him, the contraption key, and then we lower the lever in the building, thus unlocking a secret passage to the attic where we encounter another character in the storyline, a white-haired girl, and her main purpose in the story is to paint a new world, a dark, cold, but gentle world. But she says she needs to see the flame to paint this world.
I will finish the painting, so that it might make a home for someone, someday.
So eventually, we open up the chamber where Father Ariandel sits, and that's where the boss fight begins. Also the final boss. And in this boss fight, we had to defeat Father Ariandel and Sister Frida to let the flame consume this world and for the white-haired girl to paint a new world. Now, my good sir, what is your opinion on this boss fight?
Well, I gotta say, this final boss was really something. I mean, I think it made the DLC what it is. It had 3 phases. First and second one was fairly easy, but the third one was a little challenging, but nothing too challenging, I think.
What would you rate the first phase?
I think first phase, I like the music. It started off gentle, a soothing theme to match this quiet and snowy painted world. But I think I would give it a 1 out of 5.
That's the difficulty.
That's the difficulty of the first phase, yeah.
Now, what about the second phase?
Well, the second phase, Father Ariandel joins the fight, which makes it harder, but I still don't think it's really that challenging. So, I think I would give it a 2.5 out of 5, yeah. But I think the theme really switched up.
The musical theme?
Yeah, the musical theme really switched up and it really got intense, which, it was epic.
Now, this one surprised all of us. We thought it was over after we defeated the second phase. But no, there was a third phase.
Yeah, and
The Black Flame Frida.
yeah, the Black Flame Frida. I think this was the most difficult phase out of all. Even though it was the most difficult phase, I still didn't think it was the most difficult in the whole game. So, music was intense as well, so I think the music was good. But the difficulty, I would give it a 3.5 out of 5.
Alright, not bad, not bad. Honestly, in my opinion, this boss is as hard as any other boss for me.
Right.
Because I am not as good as a player as this guy, I'll admit it. So, a lot of the bosses are 5 out of 5 for me, so this is my opinion.
Right. I'm just saying, I've seen the harder bosses in the regular game.
Gotcha. Now, we're not expecting this to get a lot of views or anything. Hopefully it does well, that'd be nice for us. This is just our interpretation of the story, of what we've seen. It's just a short summary of it. But if you want a more in-depth look on the story, you should go check out
Video's channel.
Yeah, he's really good with this. He's really in depth with all his stories, and you can check out other channels too. But like, he's my favorite of where to see a more in-depth look on the game, and he already has one for the DLC, so it's nice. You should go check it out. All right, so let's now look at the positives and negatives of this Dark Souls 3 DLC. One of the first positives is that we got 16 new weapons and shields. One of my favorites was Frida's Great Scythe. It's just so good in my opinion. Like, I never use dual-handed weapons, but like, since it has the ability to become a second scythe when you hold down L2 or an Xbox LB or whatever on PC, it like, you do this combo that's so fast that it just like stuns all the enemies. And even the regular even if you just go the regular attack or the strong attack, it's just really good. It also has this other attack that it freezes the ground and it just does it does fast damage on people. So yeah.
Yeah, I think my favorite was Valor Heart and Onyx Blade, because a combination of shield and sword I think it's the first time in the game, and I think it really brings a new style of gameplay, and I think it was really nice.
There was also the Pyromancy's Parting Flame, which is better than a regular Pyromancy Flame, and I really like that. Gave me more power to the Pyromancies, which is nice. There was also a new bow called Millwood's Great Bow, and I like it because some of you might not know, actually many of you, but I actually like using the bow a lot, so I get to use a new bow to test it out.
They also added 4 new spells: 2 sorcery, which is called Frozen Weapon and Snap Freeze, 1 pyromancy called Floating Chaos.
That was my favorite one because I like using pyromancy spells.
And they also added a miracle spell called Way of the White Corona. You also get a new additional ring called Chilled Bite Ring when you encounter Sister Frida. It gives a frost resistance. She gives you this as a gift of you coming to this world.
In this DLC, there were 2 new bosses.
which is Champion's Gravetender and Gravetender's Great Wolf. This is an optional boss. It is easy to miss, but it's not too hard. It's
No.
fucking annoying though.
No, it's not that easy to miss. If you take a right on that one of those later bonfires instead of a left, you would see it right away. But for us, we just took the left and then we went to the right.
Yep. And the final boss, Father Ariandel and Frida.
Now this was a really good boss fight. I mean, for him, it wasn't the hardest boss fight or the most challenging. For me, it was pretty challenging. But the thing about this boss fight, it was like the writing in it, the words used in it, the talk. It was so good. The cinematic scenes in it was really good. The second phase where she rised up again, it was just like it just caught you in awe. Like also like yeah, it was just a really good boss fight overall in my opinion. Wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, I agree. I think this is one of the top boss fights in the whole game. I mean, how it starts off gentle, but then in the second phase, the mood just switches up and it goes intense. I think it was one of the best boss fights, yeah.
Now, when you say one of the best, you mean like how it looked, not
How-
the difficulty, right?
Not the difficulty wise, but overall with the story of it and just how they worked it with the music and everything. The phases, the different type of attacks and the different type of like phases that you have to adapt to. I think it was pretty good.
Now, one of the final things they added in this DLC was the Hollow Arena, which is nice for people who like PvP. It's a new game mode where you just fight other people, a duel or 2v2, 3v3, or even just a brawl of up to like 6 people.
Yeah, they got a variety of game modes in the PvP Hollow Arena, which I think it should have been released in the original game as itself, but I think it's nice that they made this change.
It's nice that they're listening to fans and added it in. Now, the thing with this arena thing is it's only one map, but they'll probably add more maps in the future, so it's probably nothing to worry about. Alright, but enough of this nice talk about the DLC.
Right.
There are negatives to be said about this DLC also.
It's not all nice things about this DLC. I think first thing that points out is there's no trophies. You don't unlock any achievements. You beat 2 bosses and you don't get any trophies. I think this is just mental.
Yes, I mean it's one of the things I noticed. I was wondering. I was going through this DLC, and I realized I didn't get any notifications that I got a trophy or an achievement. Now I don't know if this is just for PS4, and I don't know if there's achievements for the PC version or Xbox, but for the PS4 there was no trophies, so I was kind of a little disappointed about that. You know, I like getting trophies, so. But it's probably not a big issue on other people's list, but it made it on our list. One of the biggest negatives, not just on probably our list, but on everybody's mind, is that the DLC was kind of short. There was only 2 bosses, which I feel like they could have had like 1 or 2 more. And yeah, I feel like there should have been more areas to explore. It was a little short for me.
Yeah, I think compared to Bloodborne's DLC, which added I think like 4 or 5 bosses, this was a disappointing about the number of bosses they added. It just cut off short, and I think it should have been longer.
Which brings us to the next point, which there was no ending cutscene. I wish there was like an ending cutscene to signify that this is it. This is the end of the DLC. So like when we defeated the first boss, we thought that was the first boss, but we later found out that was the final boss, and we didn't know that because there was like no ending cutscene or a sign that said you've done it. This is the end of the DLC, which I wish they could have added something like that.
Yeah, for such an epic boss fight and a final boss fight of the DLC, I think a ending cutscene would have made it just a little better.
And the final thing on our list, we're going to talk about the Hollow Arena. Now, it was a positive that they added it, but one thing we found out, or tried to figure out, is if we could do a co-op match, me and him versus 2 other guys. Now, we could put on passwords so me and him could join, but the thing is, other people couldn't join. I wish they added a feature which allowed you to invite a friend and face two other random people, or two other people, whichever it was. I wish they added that feature.
Well, it just might be that we can't figure it out how to do it, but if there is a way to do it, then Halo Arena would perfectly just be on our positive list. But if there's no way to team up with a friend and where's two other random people or three other random people, then that's just gonna be on the negative side. Well, this concludes our review of the Dark Souls 3 DLC, which I think it's time for us as each individuals give a rating out of 5.
Let me start off. For me, it was a good DLC. It wasn't too disappointing for me, so I would give it a 4 out of 5. Now, the reason I would give it a 4 out of 5 is because I really like these two weapons that they added in, which was the Parting Pyromancy Flame and Frida's Great Scythe. And those two I like using. I'm using them right now on a regular basis, so yeah. And another thing that really stood out for me was the boss fight. I just really like that boss fight. I think the cutscene just made it so epic for me, so it put my rating up a little higher. If it wasn't for that, it probably would have been like a 3 out of 5, or maybe a 2.
My overall rating for this DLC is gonna be 3.5 out of 5. Although I did like the theme, the new weapons and the new enemies. The new enemies definitely were challenging, but I think just 2 bosses was a disappointment, really. I think it should have been like 4 or 5 bosses. That really would have bumped it out to 5 out of 5 and just made it perfect. But for $15, just 2 bosses, you know, it's kind of disappointing. And yeah, that's it. That's my opinion.
So yeah, guys, that concludes our video for today. It was a lot of fun making this video. I appreciate my friend Merciless Boo for being here and joining me. It was his idea to actually make this rant video.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of positives and negatives to be pointed out in this DLC, but it was definitely fun to go into a deep review about it and, you know, give our opinions to you guys.
Yeah, so one thing is, hopefully you guys don't take it too seriously. This is just like for a bit of fun.
Oh yeah, don't curse us out.
Yeah, so if you want to correct us in any way, if we made any mistakes and you have suggestions or corrections to make, just tell us in the comments. Yeah, be nice about it, which some of you I'm positive will not be so nice about it. But yeah, just tell us in the comments for any things you want to say, any things you want to add, any corrections any mistakes we might have made. So yeah, anything else to add?
No, that's it really. I think it's just fun.
Yeah, so until next time, guys, peace.